down, but there we go. You're on. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we are going to be hanging out, talking Splinterlands. We've got special guest Jamie from Splinter Coach. He's going to be hanging out for a couple hours. We're talking about, obviously Splinterlands. We're talking about Splinter Coach. We're getting into, who knows? So we've got a few different topics we'll get into, and of course we'll handle questions and see what you guys are up to over there and what you guys want to get into today. Yeah, do us a favor right away. I see a couple people out there. Just make sure that you like and subscribe, because I didn't make this public right away this week. And so this will be, I think it's going to have a slower start in the beginning, but I'm hoping we get the 30, 40, 50 people out there in live land before we're done and through. And those thumbs up are going to help that process. Jamie, before we go any further, can you take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself and tell the guys a little bit about your blockchain background, like how you came to blockchain maybe in the first place, and then Splinterlands more directly also?
Yeah, would love to. Hey everybody, I'm Jamie. My in-game username for Splinterlands is Guy from Ajax. And then if anyone's followed my YouTube channel, Geeked Out Basketball is where I do daily videos, or try to do daily videos around the daily 5 and 9 and some other fun things. Yeah, how I got into crypto is interesting. I worked in corporate America for about 20 years as a kind of a classically trained marketer. Worked for a number of big brands. And really into gaming. I worked for Xbox for a while, which was probably the favorite job I ever had. Also got to work on brands such as Gatorade, Samsung, and a few others. And then I'd say in about 2018, I discovered crypto the same way a lot of people did, right? I started buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, just hoping it would go up. But what was interesting, or what really sold me on it, was I started researching the underlying technology beyond the crypto or underneath the crypto. And it was the gaming use case that made sense for me, right? Me being a gamer, understanding that I could actually own assets outside of the game's closed ecosystem is what got me very excited about the underlying technology, because I had played so many games over my life where, traditional Web 2 games, that when I was done playing, I just walked away, right? And there was no, I didn't own the assets, so I was just done. Like a great example I use is Clash of Clans. I played Clash of Clans every day for about 5 years, right? And I loved it. And ironically, it's once I discovered Splinterlands that consumed all my Clash of Clans time.
Yeah.
But I essentially, walked away from Clash and, couldn't do anything with the money I put into it, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what got me into crypto. And then I kind of code on the side. As a hobby, I like to code and kind of build stuff. And then I kind of emerged from this deep dive into Web3 and crypto with this really unique skill set of traditional marketing and Web3 and crypto. And so now for my full-time job, I work essentially as a consultant for a number of big brands, helping them figure out what they should be doing in the Web3 space.
Cool.
I work with a really talented builder who's actually the gentleman who helped me build Splinter Coach. And we built a blockchain-enabled game for Bud Light in the NFL last year. Oh, wow. And we've done some work with some other big brands as well, too.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And 2018, hey, that was an exciting time. I think I always forget when I started, but I know Bitcoin was around 3,000 when I was first taking nibbles. And then I went pretty hard around like 3,500 to 4,000 DEC, 3,500 to 4,000 Bitcoin US dollar value. And like and I talk about it a fair bit, but I rode the wave, as you remember, like into the 20,000 range. And I remember thinking like, this is going forever. We're never going to look down. And my small amount of money, which was my literal every penny I'd had in the world, I put into cryptocurrency, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, a few others. And it soared, multiplications of what it was originally. And then it crashed dramatically because I didn't exit. And so, but I didn't leave that with like a bad taste about how cryptocurrency is like just a scam or a problem, or I knew that the only issue was that I didn't recognize the bubble, and that in fact, cryptocurrency was bubbling for the same reasons that gold and silver bubble, for the same reasons real estate bubbles, because it's limited in nature. And there's a growing amount of fiat currency chasing after these limited finite resources, whether it's Bitcoin, land, or whatever the case may be. And so I wasn't shaken, and I just kind of recommitted, and then found Splinterlands. And people who are watching my channel are going to know that, but I hearing your story just gets me nostalgic to remember how that, because it's years ago now. I mean, we're celebrating 5 years of Splinterlands. Hey, like, yeah. It's crazy. When did you?
It is crazy.
Was it in 2018? I don't know if you said this. I was trying to tweak something. What was the year that you started with Splinterlands?
It was 2018. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got into crypto in 2018. I got into Splinterlands last year. I'm about a year in. I started last March.
Okay. And maybe let's one more minute. Like I just want to say the Geeked Out Basketball channel, and I found you like through that before we ever talked about Splinter Coach, and I was enjoying the 5 and 9. You talked about it briefly, but like maybe not everybody's going to know what that even is. You try and win 5 battles in 5 out of 9. And it's a nice segue into kind of a conversation around Splinter Coach, because there's a 5 and 9 element within that. So maybe introduce us to the idea of this 5 and 9 and what you do on your channel. And then let's transition over to Splinter Coach and kind of talk about what we see in that and what the project that you created there.
Sure, would love to. So essentially what the daily 5 and 9 is funny. I figured I play Splinterlands every single day. And it's funny, while I'm playing, I always have this narrative going in my head, right? Like, which card should I be playing? How should I be optimizing my lineups, etc. And so then I just had this idea of, why don't I stream my matches, just kind of share my stream of consciousness with folks who may be interested in watching videos about this. And then I just thought, me being a marketing guy, right? I got to put some sort of handle around this content rather than just kind of like streaming games.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's put, super low stakes, but let's have some stakes. My challenge is I have to win 5 matches before I lose 5, or that's my goal, right? And so obviously with that math, you're not going to play any more than 9 matches.
Yeah.
And so I started calling it the daily 5 and 9.
Yeah.
And so if you look at Splinter Coach, and we can get into the functionality and the tools, the idea for this was born out of something very basic, which was simply that I wanted to know my personalized stats relative to every card in the game. Which stats am I winning with? Which cards am I winning with? Which cards am I losing with? But I also wanted to know relative to rule set, right? Like intuitively, I think Harclaw and Revealer, I probably do pretty well in Noxious Fumes. But is that really the case, right? And so I wanted to put a tool in place that could track that type of stats. But I thought, what more can I add to this just to make it a little more fun for people who do choose to engage with it? So I do like tracking people's overall record. I like, I think tracking their monthly record, their daily record. And then one little bit of functionality I thought I'd put in there is, let's track everybody else's daily 5 and 9 as well too. And so what we do is we reset the clock every night at midnight Eastern Standard Time, because I live on the East Coast in the United States. And so we track everybody's daily 5 and 9. And so it basically stops tracking once you've either won or lost 5 matches. And then it just kind of runs your cumulative monthly record for that. And then we'll reset the cumulatively monthly record at the end of every month. And then the vision for that, and we're going to start this next month, is that, as we get into UC, we have 3 tiers of membership. And then for people who become VIP members, we want to give back to the community. We want to say a little thank you for being our best members. And so we're going to take a portion of our revenue and started an SPS pool and just give that back to the top performers who have a VIP subscription at the end of every month.
I saw that in your own video. And guys, if you want to know more, like in addition to what I'm already covering on this, if you want to see even more about the app, I saw that you did probably what might have been 20-30 minute video, kind of breaking down, summarizing a bit of like and you talked about that. And I think that's really clever. Like there's incorporating what you're already doing on your channel. It is a fun idea. I like that. There's like the 5 and 9 feels like a golf element. Like, I don't know if you golf, but I like golf. And the cool thing about golf is that you're never really playing. You don't have to play against your buddy who you're teeing off with. You're kind of playing, I do anyways. I play against myself. I'm trying to beat my last hole. I'm trying to outdrive my last drive. I'm trying to, cut a putt off, take a putt off, take a stroke off every hole, and do better, finish better than I might have last week or whatever. And I feel like the 5 and 9 has that element of like that personal challenge. Plus, now there's within what you're talking about, the rewards that are potentially available to people who are Splinter Coach VIPs. There's this door of like a little trophy too, but it really is just, I want to compete anyways. Like we like the game Splinterlands because we like Splinterlands. And so we do want to be good at it. And that 5 and 9 is that almost like that's that side of it. But then also the little trophy with a little thank you if they do end up being among the better ones. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of ties into the bigger vision that my developer partner and I had for this is, if you look at the Splinterlands ecosystem, obviously the game itself is the core component, right? Yep. And all the goodness that comes around that. There are a lot of interesting tools. I think there are a lot of robust tools for tokenomics and economics. Peak monsters is great to understand like the value of your collection. There's, Splinter cards. There's a lot of fun stuff to track, different things related to card value, marketplace, etc. But I wanted to put a tool out there that was purely about the gameplay, right? And celebrating how fun this game is to play, because at the end of the day, I'm in this for the gameplay. It's kind of it's a warm little fuzzy for me knowing that I own these assets, and I kind of sell some every now and then. And if I ever do choose to walk away, which frankly, I don't think I will, but if I do, I could sell these on the open market. But I wanted to put a tool out there for people who really love the game and want to learn more about how they play the game.
Totally. And it is that. So guys, just a bit of a, I want to say hello to those that are out there. I saw Charles out there, JPH, Emmanuel, Garut, Now Done, Merlin's, and Bobby's out there. He's always out there. Thanks for popping by, guys. And like I said earlier, do me a favor, drop the like so that this is going to get shared more often with more people. And we hopefully grow this to 40, 50 before we're done here today. What was I going to say? I want to give you a bit of a framework, guys, for where we're going to go today, so that you understand what the conversation is going to look like. Jamie's going to be here for the whole time. And if you just joined us, Jamie is the creator of Splinter Coach. SplinterCoach.com is the sponsor of the channel recently. We've been talking about it. It's this personalized data tracker for your Splinterlands history. And that's going to give you two things. One, some joy in exploring your own history. How am I doing? When am I winning? When am I losing? And why? You can learn that stuff. And then out of that learning part, there's a utility side to this thing where there's actually an opportunity to get better. Because you can see you're making certain mistakes. You're losing always with X summoner or Y monster. What's going on? Well, maybe you're partnering it with the wrong card, and that sort of it's both fun and It's both fun and sort of useful in that way. But so we're going to talk about Splinter Coach for a little bit here, and then we're going to get into gameplay mechanics and maybe even just have some battles. I kind of want to do some heads up if you're okay with it, Jamie, and then we'll talk about. I mean, I think there's a lot to say about SPS for right now, and we talked before we went live about some of the moves you're making. There's also, man, that burn is a big topic right now, the DEC burn, and I would definitely want to touch on that. And then just speculation for the future of Splinterlands, but also NFT blockchain-based video games. So that's kind of a 30,000 foot overview for today, guys. And of course, if you guys have comments along the way, we'll get into those too. But Jamie, I think you wanted to maybe show us some things about Splinter Coach. Can I switch over and maybe you'll show your screen and we can have a peek at that?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna pop.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay. Full screen, and then actually, boom. I can see. Okay, and I'm gonna go over here. YouTube. There we go. So I've got just my video on, and I can see your Splinter Coach page. So you can show us.
Perfect. You see Quicks 295 and 286 at the top?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I thought I would. First of all, Dwayne, thanks for letting me share this with your community. And I thought what I'd like to do is just kind of walk you all through. It's again kind of how I do my videos, just a little stream of consciousness and how I use the tool and what I look for. So again, I think the first thing that I've always wondered, and I think everyone wonders it, right? Like what how good of a Splinterlands player am I when it comes to winning percentage? I've always intuitively thought I maybe am a 550 on a good day, a 600 player. And so what's interesting for me to see is I'm actually a 476 player.
Mm-hmm.
And watching your videos, Dwayne, you look like you're right about 500, kind of get up to 510 sometimes. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had a good observation as well too. Like there's kind of a fun little challenge that you do with yourself that I've started doing is keep your monthly winning rate above your overall winning rate, and that shows you're improving, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we have daily, and then the daily 5 and 9. One quick note is we've written an algorithm, and I'm going to continually update it to give you a coach rating. And what that's going to be, it's going to be something a bit more intangible, but because we're going to have macro data of all the users, so we're going to kind of similar, how there are certain plays or moves or macro plays you can make in chess. We're going to start identifying, what are the most successful splinters and card combinations to use when you have multiple rule sets. So let's say you have Little League and Noxious Fumes and Taking Sides. Are there certain splinters and card combinations that are proving to be best in class? And then there are some that are proving to be worst. And then we're going to essentially, write an algorithm that's going to reward you for understanding what those are and playing those versus, penalize you if you're playing the more, underperforming combinations. Right now, we do have an algorithm that we're going to get implemented within the next couple of weeks. We don't have enough data to do that type of tracking yet. So it's going to be based on a few other variables, but it's essentially going to be like your max score is going to be 1,000. There's going to be the ability to get over 1,000 if you're really doing very well. But it's going to kind of be a 3-digit number that I think people, as they start to anchor themselves on their coach rating, that's going to be another metric where they can kind of see themselves improve or maybe see they're slipping a little bit and try to work on things.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to, it's going to kind of, the algorithm is in some sense measuring me. It's measuring me, but it's also measuring me, like, I think in relation to the other performers and how well they're tuned into the true meta. Is that what am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's accurate because the algorithm is going to be continually evolving based on what's proving to be the best plays in various combinations.
Really cool.
Yep. And then down here, the daily 5 and 9 pool is going to begin during the month of June. And so we have a wallet where we're going to be filtering a percentage of our subscription revenue into.
Yep.
And then we're going to display that, and we're still working on when is it going to update daily? Is it going to update by the minute? We haven't nailed that down yet, but we'll have that. And then we're also going to have a leaderboard in play as well too for the daily 5 and 9 pool, showing all VIP subscribers and who's tracking to earn some of those rewards each month.
Love it. Yeah, it looks great, man. And I really am enjoying it. And I just want to say again, I said this once before on my channel, but I've received other invitations to cover other things and to sponsor other things or to be sponsored by other things. And I've never done it because it was never something that appealed and it was never something that made sense within the context of what I really am about, like Splinterlands and the revolutionary element of blockchain-based video games. And so this is like powerful because it's not just like it's not even just it's not even like, there are games that I have already mentioned previously and they've never been sponsor of, but maybe one day we'll cover like a game or something like that from a sponsorship perspective. But this is like a tool that just is both fun and useful for the game that I already enjoy and love. So it just was like the perfect thing. So thank you so much for, I guess, approaching me and making that opportunity. Hey, Now Done became a member today. Thank you, my dude. Appreciate you. And for the comments earlier, I saw Now Done was saying something about how, where did he go? He goes, okay, he's talking about how many summoners there are in the game now. And he goes, sometimes it feels really difficult to choose. I totally agree, actually. There are more than one occasion, like when I play. No, in fact, it probably happens every time I play. There's one game I'm going to forfeit because I end up messing around and I try this summoner and then that summoner. And sometimes you're at that 30-second countdown. Hey, Jamie, this will happen to you probably also. You get that countdown, you probably shouldn't switch the team again, but you're really thinking, oh, what about water? And one more switcheroo and I'll see if I can quickly put it together. And then it just ends up, you duff it and you miss it and you end up taking the L. Does that ever happen to you?
Oh, I can relate. I know the feeling of your heart racing when you're down to about 20 seconds and you don't feel good about your lineup.
That's so true, man. That's so true. The heart races, and you and when and I get this sense of like almost Christmas vibe of like a child where you're about to like wake up and go open the presents, because it's like my heart is racing, like you say, and I go, if I get that, I go, and you have a couple seconds leeway where even if you add 0 on the timer, you maybe still can submit, and you go and you click it and you think to yourself, come on, go through, and then it goes through and you're like, yes, I got it. So love it. Thanks for the subscription, or the membership there. Now done. And now done, I'll tell you, we do members only live events on the channel once a week usually, and those are only for you guys, so come hang out on those ones on Thursdays usually. And then lastly, you'll find member only content on the channel that as a member you'll be able to enjoy too, so check that out. And I see one comment here from Trey Trillionaire. He goes, will Splinter Coach's team branch out to other blockchain TCGs? What do you think about like long term and the capacity to implement this sort of, because this is a tool that absolutely, to his question, could be ported and applied to other collectible card games. And we talked about before we went live, we want to get into some of the future of blockchain based video games, and maybe we put this in the back of our pocket here, because I think this is maybe a significant conversation for, one, I do think there's going to be a lot of collectible card games that come out of blockchain because of NFT technology and the fact that you can actually be rewarded for your time and attention. But then two, Splinter Coach, maybe do you have a vision for that maybe in the future, or is that just right now we got to focus on Splinterlands and make this what we want it to be? Where are you at there mentally?
Yeah, I forget the user's name, but they read my mind. When we built this thing, it was a priority to build a framework that we can easily, as easily as possible, port this to other games, right? Especially card collectible games. And so that's absolutely in our goal. We are right now very focused. We want to make the Splinterlands version as robust as possible.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my tech partner will keep me honest, but I have so many ideas. Like I want to add historical graphs for, subscribers. So if you've been subscribed for 6 months, you can kind of see your performance by fire, your performance overall, and see it going up and down, and all kinds of other stuff. So yeah, it's a balance of, we do want to port to other games, but we also want to make Splinter Coach as rich as possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's exciting to think through, that you're already imagining that, because one of the things that I'm noticing, and just one more comment, and I'll let you get back to whatever, if there's anything else you want to show us here. But man, I just love that there are people that are passionate about this game and this space, like yourself. And there are so many others actually. Like there's a growing community of people who are excited and invested and actually expecting something significant here. And then we get development like Splinter Coach. Even Peak Monsters kind of doubling down on what they've been doing. There's Splex, and there's Hawks is doing something, and oh man, I've seen lots of great things, man. There's just a growing amount of resources, because there's a deep passion, and then there's actually a skill set that's being tied to that passion with people like yourself who are like, I see something here, and I have a capacity to maybe move into that open space, and I love it.
Yeah, no, Hawks' resource is great. I recently have kind of graduated into that diamond champion level with my deck. And so his resource kind of helping me understand according to their algorithm, the most powerful cards by level has been extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. And then a couple other things with Splinter Coach as well, too. You can do full sorting by splinter, right? And so you'll see both the left and the right hand side of the screen will change when I click on the splinter. But what's interesting, you see here, I'm overall a 476 player, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Fire, I'm a 439 player, and I'm even doing more poorly this month. And then here, you and I talked about this when you started using the service, Dwayne. You intuitively felt like Kelia was a very strong performer for you.
Yeah.
I came in with the same thought, but look at this. I'm pretty much slightly below my average in water, right? Mm-hmm. 471. Earth, I'm 495, above average. Life, I struggle. Death, I know you're doing very well in death. I'm not. I'm 459. And then, but Dragon is my top performing splinter. Just it's been above 500 most of the time. I've gotten a little bit of a cold spell with quicks. And then for the, I don't own a Lux, but for those of you who own Lux, you'll have neutral filtering over here as well.
I noticed three things. Your Immortalis is doing really quite well, well above average. Your what's the dragon? Not Quicks, the new one.
Really?
Lily Shield Paw crushing it for you. And then one more in the death, even though you said death is not, maybe your forte, look at what Astral's doing for you with that's 100 basis points higher than your, right? Like you're like, that's a well above your average. And that's not a small sample size. It's almost 80 matches or whatever. That's Astral Entity. I think people are sleeping on it. The cost is really cheap, and same with definitely Lily Shield Paw. Not that people don't know that they're good, but I think, man, the price points, I mean, cards are really dipping lately. So there's some exciting with this sorts of data. I think it's really interesting to think, okay, somebody asked me recently, okay, what would you do for 50 or $100? Well, you can look at this and say, there's certain summoners that they win more than they lose. And it's not just Dwayne and it's not just Jamie. You could see this data with yourself by playing, using the tool for 7 days for free, track that information and see how you're winning. Maybe there are certain summoners that you're going to see trends and you can complement it. Maybe certain monsters do amazingly well, but you're missing a piece that would make them level up. Maybe you're at level 3 with your legendary, and if you go to level 4, it's already winning, but if I move it up, maybe it's going to help even more. I love that sort of utility side of this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And even another little insight I had here, like you're right. The thing too is this tool actually made the ecosystem a little stickier for me. Like I didn't own a maxed out Astral or Lily when I started tracking my stats.
Yeah.
And I went out and I maxed out those 2 cards because I'm like, I really want to see how I would do with those cards. Right. The other thing that's fun is check this out. Like I would have never guessed Mother Kala would be my 4th best performing summoner. And what's interesting is she's got a niche, right? She's my only maxed out 3 mana summoner that I own. And so if you look, I'm using her and I'm succeeding in low, so 518 overall, right on par for low mana, right? 510, but then even 20 to 29, she's a 563 summoner.
Nice.
And then it starts to drop a little bit, right? 400, etc. So like Mother Kala has a clear role within my overall, Splinterlands play.
This is, really cool. Loving it. Maybe
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's spend another couple minutes, getting into whatever important things you want to show here. And then let's maybe move over into, what do you think? We'll get into gameplay and let's convert, we just mentioned about some of these monsters and some of these summoners and how they're doing. I'd love to talk a little bit about what you're learning about the meta recently and what do you think, where we're at and even just like an investment in cards and where the best buys at and maybe the tool is pointing us in certain places.
Sure. So what I've found is I've been able to validate and then unvalidate some play strategies that I think were working for me. The first and the most obvious is around Immortalis. So you pointed out I'm performing well with Immortalis. And then if you go down here, these are the 5 most played cards, win or lose, that you'll see displayed when you click on the card page. And if you go down here, look at it. So obviously the most played is Mycelic Slipspawn. And that's a really strong record, 72 and 52.
Yeah.
And then Queen Mycela, 55 and 43. And Uloth is 32 and 25.
Yeah.
Spirit Hoarder isn't in here as well. Oh, and then one sort of meta play that I think people are kind of sleeping on is pairing Immortalis with Goblin Psychic.
Yeah.
Because I forget the name, but because, you bring in the Void across the board with Immortalis, and then Goblin Psychic reduces the magic ability of your opponents by 1. And so you're essentially double nerfing your opponent's magic. And in a rule set like Wands Out, I've seen matches both for me and against me where whoever is on the wrong side of that doesn't do a point of damage during the entire game, because of the total nerf.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious. So it was interesting. This whole Immortalis plus the tree, Slip Spawn and the triage, and then throw Goblin Psychic in there was a combination that I thought was working that this tool helped me validate. I'm curious if while you've been playing, Have you had any strategies that you intuitively thought were working, and then you're kind of like, yes, they are working because you saw the data?
The one that two come to mind. One is positive and one is negative. One is negative, meaning like I was wrong. I thought it was working and I was wrong. And one is positive in the sense of I thought it was working and I was totally right. And the negative one is the, like we talked about, you mentioned briefly, Kelia. I don't want to pull up my data right now because I'd have to pull away from your screen share, but my Kelia data, and I've grinded over the first week. It was just brutal. I was doing something wrong. And I was like, I was losing. I think my data was something like, 2 wins and 12 losses or something with Kelia. And I would see people try the sneak attack speed play. There's a relatively low mana play with the water team where you get Kelia as your summoner. She gets the armor. You bring out maybe Saber Shark in the wild. You bring out Saber Shark for the sneak attack damage. You bring out Uraeus with the sneak attack damage, and the bandit, Pellicor bandit, and that's like a triple sneak, and they're quite fast, especially the Saber Shark and the Pellicor bandit. And it's so powerful because they all, even though they're 3 mana each, and you can throw Ruz in there too, 2 or 3 mana each, they end up being focus firing, large damage, melee damage output. Plus the armor makes them quite extra resilient. Plus their speed should partner well with Kelia. All of that in my mind was like a lock and an easy layup. And I knew other people were beating me with it. So I just started to, I thought I was winning with it. I guess I didn't really understand the results, but I truly was getting stomped with that play because I don't have a proper level Saber Shark, I think is what I was learning from it. And I think you need the full picture there if you're going to use that style in the wild. And so that was one where I was surprised about the loss. And the win side, or I affirmed my accuracy, was in the Astral Entity or the Death Splinter and that Redemption play. Because if you, with the weekends available on my team in particular, actually, you know what? I'm going to pop away quickly. I'm going to sneak over to Peak Monsters to show some of these cards. If we go into Peak Monsters, you go over to buy, and you just search Redemption, you're going to see, and then let's focus fire on the Death Splinter, and then just regulars. So you got the Life Sapper, you got the Cursed Slime Ball, and you got Kane. And this actually doesn't include, now we got to add in neutrals, because by the way, I also have Halfling Alchemist, Venari Spellsmith, and Dr. Blight he doesn't have Redemption. That's actually the weakened side of this. So I will often do Cursed Slime Ball, Life Sapper, Halfling Alchemist in that order, 1, 2, 3. And then I'll bring out Weaken, and you can put in weakened monsters. You put in, I've got the Undead Priest, I've got the Death Elemental. I've got, if the mana cap is appropriate, I can drop the Cthulhu and the Dr. Blight. But usually this one's doesn't make a lot of sense, because if your opponent does like a big mana monster, because you're using 11 on one, there might be a higher mana cap, so that might not work. But under 20, this thing works, man. This wins, and it's part of why my Dr. Blight is absolutely cruising. Like I've got, quickly, I am gonna show it. Monsters. My Dr. Blight data is, look at there, 73 and 58, 557. And I know it's an expensive card, but man, the usefulness of that 4 mana monster is so significant. And yeah, when I look at my Death Summoners, if I look at my Death Splinter and I look at which monsters I'm playing, it's like Undead Priest, Cursed Slime Ball. That's part of that play I just talked about. And then if I look at the Summoner data, and I'd have to unpack it really detailed, but I am doing that play, especially that's why Thaddeus is winning so much. Thaddeus is partnering. He offers a weaken, and then you get a weaken from the Dr. Blight. You get a redemption from the Cursed Slime Ball, a weaken from the Undead Priest. You're talking so few mana, and it works and it works and it works, and that's why we're 25 and 14 with the Thaddeus. But I didn't know it was Thaddeus exactly. I just knew this monster play was successful. It really does thrive with Thaddeus, which is a great. If you have these cards, think about that, guys.
You know, it's interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen the most played card with a summoner not be of that summoner Splinter. You really like to lean into Dr. Blight with Thaddeus.
Definitely. Especially for those, because he's got that weekend, and by the time, so when I do that play, like when I do that weekend redemption play, we end up getting these monsters with four, like really low mana, or sorry, really low hit points. But then the Dr. Blight's hiding in the back line, and by the time he gets to the front, he's gonna have 12 hit points probably. And so I do end up with the tank, even if the redemption play isn't the doesn't by itself win it. The Dr. Blight might just steal it because he's got that poison and he's chipping down. He's got that affliction and he's stopping your. If you try and throw like a one way the redemption play will fail is if my opponent is playing like a self-healing melee monster like that. What's that death tank?
Cursed Windiku.
Cursed Windiku, such a great card, right?
Yeah.
If you throw a Cursed Windiku at me while I'm doing this redemption play, I'm not going to win. But if I have a Dr. Blight in there who's going to afflict your heal, who's going to poison your monster, it just it's like the full package. Like this play right now feels to me really meta actually, and it's got to be that low mana side. It's not any old place. Like if we look at the mana cap, just I bet it's 12 and 7 at that low side, and yeah, I mean, but I love it. So those are two ways. One way I found that I was right. One way I found I was totally wrong.
That's cool, and I think that's what's exciting about this is I know I'm guilty of this, but I feel like once I find one or two things that are working, I get pigeonholed on those, right? And I get tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just learned a new strategy that you've been able to use this tool to see what's working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah. I'm showing you a screen again. Do you want to maybe transition into like we already kind of have? I love this conversation of like gameplay, three things: gameplay, strategies, meta analysis, and investment. Like, are you seeing right now, maybe out of the tool and what the tool is showing you, certain cards that are particularly valuable for their win percentage, but then perhaps also simultaneously like really reasonably priced? I think we have seen card prices drop recently. Do you think there's a conversation in there? And if so, like, do you have any thoughts on what that might look like?
Yeah, again, you've talked about this, so it's not breaking news, but I think it's worth saying again. I think if people don't realize how good these legendary summoners are
Mm-hmm.
that have been released, that's probably been the biggest eye opener for me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think part of that is there are some game-changing abilities in there, especially for specific rule sets like Wands Out with Immortalis. Another thing, I think Astral has become pretty powerful because of all of these soulbound reward cards that have the martyr ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're essentially getting at least one redemption, and then if you also have the born again rule set, you can be triple martyring up some cards, right?
Yes. And if you do that well with a combination of a scavenge, you start unlocking like a crazy number of hit points. And you can do, especially with the Death Splinter. Again, I like coming into Peak Monsters, and you can search the description, the ability, but if you can put like Riftwing, Maggots, Parasitic Growth, Dr. Blight on the same team with picture Slime Ball in the first position with that redemption, with you want it to die, and then a resurrect associated with from your summoner, it's going to die twice, create two redemptions, which is going to hurt your opponent in the ways you want. Plus, it's giving you two scavenge body points or hit points for every one of those monsters. I said 4. I do that. I'll play Riftwing, Maggots, Parasitic Growth, and Dr. Blight all in the same build, especially in rule sets where it's like, if there's like Noxious Fumes is one of the ways I might fight Noxious Fumes. I'll prefer to look for things like self-heal. But in certain situations, your best play, because of maybe splinter restrictions or mana cap restrictions, sometimes one of the angles for out surviving it, I'll utilize Scavenge, and Gelatinous Cube is a good example of that, right? It's got that self-heal and the Scavenge, and so it works so well in that context.
Yeah. Another strategy that has popped for me has been Yasik with these really strong archery monsters and fire. I my overall win rate with fire is 439.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at some specific cards, I'm 521 with Molten Ash Golem. I'm 566 with Countess Sinash. I'm 582 with Ash Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten on a little bit of a cold spell recently with Lava Launcher, but I'm still 485, which is about almost 50 basis points above my fire average. And
Yeah.
for the longest time, I was, well into the 500s with Lava Launcher as well, too. And so I think Yasik is a great way to counter things like Thorns and Reflection Shield, and especially with those strong archery monsters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I agree, but I haven't seen the Yasik be that successful for me. But I am interested. I haven't fully dived into why. I know I can use the tool to look at that, and I should and I will. But I just mostly steer away. Like as you've alluded to when you were looking at your summoners, there are some where I'm struggling. Fire is one of them. And I think it might be because I just don't have some of the cards. Like look at this, 24 and 37 for Conqueror Yasik for me. And my rating on fire is 448. And my rating on water, 500, 429 on green, 493 on white. Death is 587 and dragon is 551. So there's like, these are my death and dragon. When they're around, I will thrive, and water is doing just fine too. But I suffer when I have to rely on my fire team. I suffer when I have to rely, surprisingly, when I have to rely on my earth team. Look at that, it's a 429. That was my worst of all of them. And but you know what it is? It's right here. Wizard of Eastwood, man. He's been I need to like sell this card. I need to give it away for free. It's hurting me.
That's funny. That's General Sloan for me. I'm even though I've gotten on a little bit of a hot streak with Sloan recently, and I use the term hot streak loosely, i.e. I'm not losing 70% of my games with General Sloan.
Yep.
But I'll look real quick. I think I still have a sub 400 winning percentage with that summoner.
This is gross. Like
yeah, 383. I'm 23 and 37 with Sloan. But again, I did a little digging, and I'll see if this is still holding. So mana cap range, low mana, he's holding up. He's 5 and 3, 625 winning percentage, and 12 to 19. And then it drops there. One other thing I've noticed too is when I notice I'm having success with a specific card or in a specific place, I'll start using it more.
Yeah.
And then either that success holds up and it kind of proves to be true, or it proves to be that it just needed more iterations and it's getting closer to 500, or how I play at 478,
That's right. You're totally right. You think that happened with Immortalis, because we talked offline before, like when I started using Splinter Coach, and you were like, Immortalis, he wins a lot. I'm like, wow, he does. And I started doubling down on it. And now I'm at a 500 level with him, which is, it's good. That's for my green team. Like I need to play Immortalis or I'm in trouble. That's not entirely true. Obsidian obviously has her space, but man, like this is like Wizard of Eastwood to be 3 and 12. I mean, I honestly should just stop playing that. Like, I mean, it's just not working. And the minus armor, any of those summoners like that, where it's like minus to your opponent, you're just counting that the opponent is going to bring that thing that you're going to nerf. And if they don't, then you get no benefit out of it. Hey.
Yep, absolutely. Curious if you've been seeing this from a gameplay meta standpoint. Maybe it's just my personal bias because I've been leaning into it more often, therefore I've been noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
But poison has become a lot more prominent for me, both good and bad. Mm-hmm. And so one card I've started leaning into when I have the mana to do it is Heartclaw. Because with immunity, Heartclaw cannot be poisoned. But I've been focusing on, leaning. I can't believe this didn't dawn on me till recently, but the Aim True rule set, I've been starting to play as many poison monsters as possible, because why not? You're guaranteed a hit, right? So why not also increase the chance you're going to land some poison on your opponent? So I've had lineups where I've had Uraeus, Blight, Soul Strangler, and there's a fourth one that I know I'm missing, but I've had up to Bonesmith.
Mm-hmm.
I've had lineups where I'm playing all 4 of those, and then you throw Heartclaw up front with the death unit who can't be poisoned, and that's been a bit of an interesting play for me.
You know what you're making me wonder about, and it could be like a feature update. It might be too complicated. I don't know, but I'll say it anyways. I don't know if you ever grew up playing Super Nintendo. Did you play Super Mario Kart?
I played, yeah, I didn't play much Mario Kart. I'm a bit older. I was an Atari guy.
Okay. So guys out in the chat, if you remember, of course, like people remember Super Mario Kart, such a good game. I mean, whether you played it for Super Nintendo or whether you played it for N64, classic gaming experience. That sort of game where you broke some controllers if you're like me, because your buddy, you snuck across the line 1 inch before you because he power slid around the corner or something crazy like that. But fun game. One of the cool things that came out of that game was there was a time trial thing. So Jamie, what you would do is you could race yourself, and we talked about with golf earlier. You're playing yourself. You want to beat yourself. You would race a certain course, and then you would immediately re-race it, and it would give you a ghost that you could race against. That's your previous best time. And interesting, like in the application of Splinter Coach, when you were talking about the I think you said it was aim true, but really any sort of context where you could bring in poison. And really, what I like using that one in is scattershot, when it's the scattershot rule set, because yes, I want to disperse as much poison as I can on my opponent. And I'm finding that the usefulness of poison is really, really powerful. And that then makes me keep coming back to the thought, is Waka Spirit Blade better than people have given him credit for? And I don't use him. I sometimes rent him, and I have had success with him. I haven't rented him recently. I should. I'm going to rent him maybe for a week and see what the data says. But my point in bringing it up is, what if there was like a capacity within Splinter Coach for like not only tracking, I know this would get hairy if you started going too far with it, but let's say not only tracking my personalized data, but give me the one card that partners the most commonly across all users with that summoner. Do you know what I mean? And then, or even Dwayne, you're using Dr. Blight, like I showed you the data earlier. Dwayne, you're using Dr. Blight in the context of Astral Entity, and you're winning. How often was I doing it? Actually, it wasn't Astral Entity. Let's just pull up that data quickly. With Thaddeus Brood, I'm using Dr. Blight, and I get a 641 win rate with Thaddeus, and with Dr. Blight, I'm 17-11. Okay. Other users that have the similar build use Dr. Blight, and they win at 651 or whatever. Or other users with Thaddeus, like just slash best user 6666 or something, whatever the case may be. Some like there would be this benchmark that I know exists out there, and it wouldn't need to be this deep kind of detailed deep dive on what other people are doing, but maybe just a hint, a glimpse at what others are doing, so that I might be like, hey, I'm either leading the way in this, or I'm actually, there's room for me to improve on what already is working. Do you see an opportunity there? Would that be maybe possible even? I don't even know.
Yeah. So yes, it's absolutely possible. And yes, it's something we want to do. We're pretty fortunate. One of the developers who helped us build this, he's very good with databases, right? And he's very good at working with that type of stuff. So we would, it's been great watching you share this tool with your community, because I've gotten to just watch you organically use it. And one thing I've noticed about how you use it is when you go to the card page, you naturally go to the top 5 most played. Like, I think that's something you find very interesting.
Yes.
And so we would love to your point, maybe there's even just a top 5 most played by the community, right? Or the overall. So that could be another quick read. So you can compare, hey, am I kind of zigging when the rest of the community is zagging?
Yeah.
And then is that working for me, or is that not working for me? We would love to put that's one of, trust me, I've got so many things I want to do with this, but that's right at the top of the list.
That feels like it could be a cool VIP perk, by the way, because you know why? Because that tool would be very powerful in the capacity to identify little ways to tweak your game to improve your rewards. And so if it was just, and maybe you just do make it, for everybody, but I'm saying you could track it in the background and like provide it on the VIP side, because then they're going to have that inside edge on how to just carve out just a little bit more wins. Just even, if you win, 3 times more every time you play 50 battles or something. That's 6% of your battles. Like that's a dramatic difference, and that's going to translate to more chests daily, more chests seasonally, more soulbound reward cards. You're going to be, once you get those extra, you get that edge on soulbound reward cards, it starts to be this snowball because now you've got even better cards that no one else has. So advantages such as this right now, I think, are pretty powerful. I want to check out the chat and see what people are saying, and also I want to maybe take a timeout and see how we're doing on views.
Yeah,
we've got 19 concurrent viewers. We got 15 likes. Thank you guys for giving the thumbs up. If you already have, and if you haven't, please do. And yeah, one more member. Really glad about that. And I see that Trey Trillionaire said 2 things I wanted to talk about. Trey Trillionaire dropped a comment and he goes, will Splinter Coach... Oh, no, not that one. The future is bright for Web3 gaming and especially TCGs. So it's great that you plan to offer services for other games. If Splinterlands gets the tournament on point. And then also if Splinterlands gets the tournaments on point, which I think we are going to. I honestly think Weirdbeard has got some good aims with respect to how they're going to ensure human-to-human battling, plus the prizes, plus, you know, even we talked about draft mode tournaments and stuff like that. I think there's going to be new angles to what's the excitement, like a new fresh breath of air into the tournament soon. Man, yes, I'm super, you know what? Let's spend some time talking about this, like the future of Web3 gaming, because Trey Trillionaire, the future looks bright for Web3 gaming. Especially TCGs, so it's great that you plan to offer those services for other games. I do think that this is like pretty plug and play. Like I don't mean Splinter Coach, but yes, Splinter Coach. I mean blockchain-based rewards for your time and attention within a video game that is interesting and enjoyable. Man, like I can imagine a game where like every game could benefit from this. If you're playing Diablo, if you're playing Apex Legends, if you get skins in Call of Duty, what if those skins were yours to buy, sell, trade? I mean, there's no reason not to, even from the game developer's perspective. I just think we are at such a beginning stage of this. Is that your sense, Jamie, or do you feel like, and if we are at the beginning stage of the launch of blockchain and NFT within video games, what does that timeline in your mind look like? Are we 10 years away from this being common? Are we 20? Is it like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. So a couple quick thoughts, and I can talk about Web3 and blockchain gaming forever. So you might have to cut me off, but what I'll tell you, the way I look at Web3 gaming is the same way I look at good stocks in the stock market, you know, is that I'm very confident that Web3 gaming is here to stay. It's going to be successful over the long term. I can't give you a time frame though. I really don't have a sense on, you know, if you would have asked me last year, I would have told you that by this year we would have at least one really compelling AAA Web3 game in market, and we don't. Mm-hmm. So, but what I think is, first of all, if you kind of go back, I think there's going to be a Web3 native, there's going to be a set of Web3 native games that are going to do this right? Mm-hmm. And then there's also going to, at some point, I think some of the existing Web2 gaming brands are going to need to figure out how to crack this code. I think that ladder is going to move a bit more slowly. I don't think Ubisoft did anyone any favors with their Ghost Recon, launch of Digits. When was that? 3 years ago now, 2 years ago. But I think the key is going to be when there's actually real utility, mm-hmm. and also when people are playing the game because of the game itself and not purely for the tokenomics or the economics. Because, yeah, again, I think one thing that maybe Web3 gaming, it didn't do it any favors, is I think a lot of Splinterlands is the exception of a game that was launched early that wasn't, like, most of them were just sort of like DeFi protocols, masquerading as games, right? Mm-hmm. And so to me, the key is like, you just need to have a game like Splinterlands where people are more excited to buy the cards, buy the assets, be a part of the community, and that type of stuff, versus trying to consistently extract value. And one quick thought, and this is why I'm so excited about the work Weirdbeard is doing around tournaments. etc. I can tell you, I know you follow Hawks's channel, but Hawks did he did a Splinterlands March Madness tournament, and I participated in both of those, and I was one of the lower seeds, and I ended up upsetting a couple folks. I had so much fun doing
Nah,
that. If I could do this every 2 weeks in Splinterlands, like, I mean, talk about like driving engagement, and then that would drive margins on card prices, I think, because people would just be excited to buy cards because they'd want to win more tournaments. And then, you know, Hawks was putting out content and videos recapping the matches, and I was nervous playing those games because I didn't want to have a recap where I got my butt kicked.
yeah.
You know? So I think that's the future.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And especially on the aspect of the tension, it grows higher when there's a degree of, it's not just a tournament side, but the tournament has an opportunity to unlock what I'm trying to point to. This idea that real meaningful stakes of on human, battle. And so there's a conversation about how we make sure that the bots are not involved. But like, let's assume we get that right. The idea of like tournaments bring an opportunity of stakes that are greater than the 2 cents, right? Like, let's say if I beat you in a rank battle, I'm going to get 5 SPS in champion. And that's awesome. I love that. To me, that's really meaningful. I think SPS is going to one day be $1. And so that's a really significant reward for per 2-minute battle. But I'm saying, from the perspective of like the world, mostly they're not thinking that way, and they're like, okay, 10 cents, who cares? And then tournaments come along, and there's like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of SPS available in certain situations, or packs, or resources, and I think that is going to be an exciting path into making this bigger and growing that attention it's drawing. Because man, there's 2 things there. One, there's a passion from the tension, because I feel that in guild brawls. I've been talking about how guild brawls lately are like my favorite part of this game, because in guild brawls the stakes are higher. Like, I can get 150 SPS, and so can all my friends if we play well. I can get 6,000 merits, which can buy me gladiator packs, which can give me unique advantages for future battles that are now even impacting my rank reward. So I'm loving it. The stakes feel high and substantial. I'm interested, and I'm nervous when I battle, like you alluded to in that tournament you participated in. So yeah, there's something unique and special about this, and we need to get it right. And I think Weird's the guy, so I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's moments like that I think, at the end of the day, if you break this down from a business and marketing standpoint, first of all, Web3 and asset ownership is it's such a basic consumer benefit for gaming companies, that I think once the light bulb goes off for gamers across the board, I just think they need to really truly understand it. I think the market's just going to kind of pull gaming companies to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too, from sort of like an emotional attachment, is what will drive higher margins and more profitability for these gaming companies. And so, to your point, like, you get nervous for brawl, or for guild brawls. Mm-hmm. I do too. But I was really nervous for that tournament. And what's funny is there was money on the line, there was crypto on the line to be won. I didn't even think about that. I was nervous because I knew that my matches were going to be broadcast to the community. I knew other humans were watching this.
Yeah.
And I felt like that beating my chest when the matches would start, because there were stakes beyond just monetary that were on the line for me.
Yeah, you're right. You're actually pointing to something I feel too within the guild brawls, because my teammates can see my battles and they see my overall performance. So they want me to do as best I can. In fact, Time and Attention has recently been aiming at some like higher performance. Like, we're inviting the guys to like maintain well above 500 in those brawls. And we're actually moving people around. Like, if maybe tier 4, if we can't carry that capacity, because we really do value that high level of competition. So I'm like white knuckling. I'm like, come on, like, I want NRG or RNG to work in my favor. I want the right splinters to come up. And when they do, and I'm truly pumped. And unfortunately, the guild brawl videos like are not ones that people mostly want to. The viewership is just not there, unfortunately. But I love it, so I'm going to keep putting it out once a week. But yeah, I can tell from the views on the channel, people want to hear about like the economy and the, you know, the future and the, you know, that side of it more than they want to see the, but I love it. I love it too much to walk away from it. And more than that, as we grow that experience and make it more and more desirable to be within because the rewards grow, but also because the experience is enjoyable, I think we grow in a group of people that are then eager to watch it. So it's almost like if you build it, they will come. So I'm gonna keep pushing that because man, I love it. And this game is fun, man. This game is fun. So let's be excited about that side of it, not just the economy or whatever either. You know?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. There's two sides to the coin. The game, I think we're going to have a number of successful Web3 games over the long term. And like the minimum must have is these games must be fun to play, right? But then the other side is, you know, it's funny. I'm someone who I lean all in on gameplay, and then for me, the tokenomics and the earning are kind of just a nice little cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
And but I do know, and it was kind of eye opening. I think Yama Matt put the post out, like his point of view, and he's right, is that they got to lean in. This was when they were talking about bots. I don't remember the exact words he put in his response to that. You know, let's make modern sans bots. But the essence of what he said is that what makes us special is we're a fun game to play and we have the tokenomics and earning, you know? And so I think that those two sides of the coin are going to ultimately be the special sauce for this.
Yeah.
For Web3 gaming as an industry moving forward.
Yes.
I just think when the category started, it leaned way too heavily towards earning. And Splinterlands was one of the positive outliers that actually had a fun game to play as well too.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see an evolution where you're going to see games, you know, embracing gameplay and tokenomics in really interesting ways.
I 100% agree. And maybe the only thing I would add is just that you didn't want to touch a timeline, and I get that. I don't know either, but I think when I look at this, it's so appropriate for a video game experience. Like, I mean, you can't go into a retail store today without them offering you some card, customer card. Hey, you come to us like once a year. How about you carry another card in your wallet because we'll give you, free points that might accumulate to 10% off one day down the road or something like that. And everybody's doing it, everybody. And so what's going on there? It's an acknowledgement that there's an incentive. If they can incentivize your return to their establishment, then you're going to benefit and they're going to benefit too. It's the recognition that your time and attention, really at the core, it's the recognition that where you're paying attention to, it matters. And we can actually, if we can incentivize you to walk in this space, then we are going to benefit when you do. And I think every game can benefit from that recognition, that blockchain could bring that side of it in. Now, it's so complicated that most aren't even capable of recognizing that. And then also, even if you're capable of recognizing that potential, I don't really believe any of these AAA, developer titles are ready to or equipped to then integrate this. So the story is still a long way off, but I feel to me, it's truly revolutionary and it is going to transform video gaming forever. I just think Splinterlands is unique in that, like you said, it put together first the game side and the tokenomic side, where it's like, whoa, I can make money playing something. Wow. Not just clicking on a thing, which you're right. DeFi has been just gamified. DeFi exists and it's kind of a game, I guess. And, I would even go so far as to say a Golem Overlord, I've been touching it. It's like that. It's like a game. It's a gamified DeFi. It's more DeFi protocol than it is game. And so, most of them are not a true game, but here with Splinterlands, we have that and I love it. I do want to read some comments. Usually I fall behind on comments, but today we have barely touched it. Thank you guys for dropping comments. I saw earlier Monsieur Caruso said, I bought an Immortalis today for $153. Pretty cheap if you ask me. 3 or 4 weeks ago, the same card was $240. Yes, I was selling my Immortalises for $24. The probably right when you were talking about that 3-4 weeks ago. And I was using it to accumulate DEC because I wanted to prepare for land. But that all once you get DEC in my hands, I start spending it too. So I just ended up buying other cards. Bobby's out there. talking about Yasik. I almost never rent Yasik, and when I do, I almost never use them. I love the speed, and I'll say Yasik's really powerful in the Splinter Forge realm because the +2 speed. So, and I'd play Splinter Forge daily now. I'm really enjoying it, even though the rewards there are even more trivial than Splinterlands, but I'm liking it. And then Garut, I don't know if you own a Zyriel, Jamie. No, me neither. So I can't comment on this one. But man, powerful. I like that card. I want one, but I'm not buying it for the price point it's at.
I'd be curious if anyone in watching is using the 7-day free trial and has Zerial, if they see any success with cards they're pairing with it.
Yeah, me too. I definitely would love to hear that. I want to know what a win rate looks like with, like, how powerful is that card? I don't know, and it seems to me like it is a strong card, and I want it. But man, right now with land 1.5 and the DC I need there, plus this burn that we haven't talked about yet, so maybe we can do that after some comments. There's just I don't have enough, man. That's the thing too. Quickly, a lot of talk lately about people like, hey, it's so unfair, they keep releasing another thing. No one has enough money for everything that this game offers, and that's just okay. Like that's gonna be the way this experience feels. You're gonna want Zyriel, you're gonna want Riftwatcher packs, you're gonna want land and Chaos Legion and DEC and SPS, and you won't be able to have enough, and neither will I. And sometimes that is frustrating. I get it, but we just got to recognize that that's actually it's part of the secret sauce to why a game like this is fun, because we aren't cookie cutter, and we're going to get to a place where everyone's account is almost a fingerprint, like so unique. You don't have the exact same cards I do. Maybe right now it feels more cookie cutter, but I think we are going to get to a place. And somebody said earlier in the chat, now done. He said this tool, your Splinter Coach, is important for the present, but real useful in the future with more and more cards and abilities. And I think that's my point with this. Like right now, things might feel cookie cutter, but it's because we've been able to slowly accumulate the resources that they were giving. But we're growing into a place where we won't. And that's kind of a cool new era for Splinterlands, where you will not have all the cards you want, nor all the resources. And I'm excited about that. Charles, Wizard of Eastwood, and Sloan will be on the farmlands ASAP. Ivan says unusable. P.S. I saw Ivan was on NFT Gaming and Collectible last night talking with Gank and Keys, and he says he's going to drop 1.5 mil on the DEC burn. Do you have any plans for doing some burn there, Jamie, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely not going to be competing with the whales. I'm going to treat it more as day one. I'm going to buy a few in the spirit of raffle tickets. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be 3 to essentially get one entrance into the raffle. So I can see myself maybe burning about 20,000 DEC, maybe 6 entries that's where I've kind of mentally come to in my head.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm thinking I'm going to go pretty heavy. I'm like, I have 900,000 DEC and I might burn all of it. I might. But that would be, I did the math yesterday, it'd be something like 150 raffle tickets plus 900,000 DEC to put towards my guild buildings. So it's this double dip thing. I'm pumped about. Do you have a guild?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I joined it very early, called the Mandalorians.
Oh, nice.
I think we're ranked something like 148 or something. I'm curious. I don't know much about guilds. I've just been kind of blindly playing in them, but it's funny. I have my powers up to 800,000 now, but the max I can compete is a gold. Is that because like, I assume there's diamond and champion phrase. You just need to be in a higher ranked guild.
Yeah. The different guilds have different buildings, and one of the buildings is a arena. I think it is. I think that's the one. And then the arena can increase the tier of battle that you compete within. And many people compete at tier 3, time and attention 1, and maybe 10, or I think we have maybe 2 guilds out of our 10 guilds that are competing at tier 4. And that's, I think, the highest point where any guilds are competing right now. There might be some people who are eligible for tier 5. That's the max level, but I don't know if anyone is truly fighting there yet. And the point is, tier 1, 2, 3, they have different brawls, phrase, limitations, and then as you get higher and higher, you're going to see more of those higher cards and higher leagues and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to do a little guild. I mean, I participate in every brawl.
Yeah.
They're a challenge for me because I have to mentally reset to gold level cards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. I love like the guild's fun. They're a fun group of people, but maybe I start searching for one where I can play diamond or both.
I know a good guild that would welcome you, Jamie. So you let me know if you need any help.
Perfect.
Monsieur Caruso. Oh, and I guessed correctly. A few weeks ago in a live stream, you said there would be a tool to analyze your strategies, and I wrote, if it is with GFA equals guy from Ajax. Yeah, there you go. You're a clever man. What else? Oh, Bobby with the N64 shout out, loved it. N64 baby, man. First gaming console. You mentioned Atari. Was that right, Jamie? What was tell me your video game story as a kid. What were you into? Yeah.
Yeah, there's really a fun story with this. So I was a kid and I got the Atari 2600 for Christmas one morning, right? And so I woke up, went out, and I'm making a basketball game. I'm a big sports guy, but my true sport is football, American football. I love that game. And so my parents got me Real Sports Football, which if anyone's as old as me, you might remember Real Sports Football. It's this 8-bit, but it was really ahead of its time for when I got it.
Yeah.
And I have this really funny memory that the very first game I played on Christmas morning, the computer beat me 36-6. That was the final score. And then I played football in high school. And my junior year, we were in a playoff game, second round of the playoffs. And I was our running back and our kick returner. And we were getting our butts kicked in the second round. It was kind of getting towards the end of the game. Fourth quarter, they had scored again. I went back to prepare to return the kickoff. And I looked up at the scoreboard and it was 36-6.
Yeah.
And I thought of that Real Sports Football game from when I was 5 years old.
Real Sports Football. What a name, hey? Like you've got the advertising background. That is not the best name brand right there, but so like descriptive, like so basic too. I mean, it's like calling your essay like your essay for your English study like, excellent or oh man, I'm thinking of Splinterlands.
Yeah.
Like your favorite author and like just saying like excellent book or something. Like okay, like good. How about something more descriptive, something more thought provoking? But that's what it was just different back then. Like you needed the bar was different. Like you called your game football, you called your game hockey. You didn't even call it NHL. You called it hockey, and it was just a totally different vibe back then. Somebody was saying SNES to me. SNES and Genesis were like I had a Nintendo, but the real love and passion, well, you know what? Maybe the passion really began with Nintendo. I remember loving playing Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 with my mom. She'd come in my room and we'd play together. And then it turned into me getting Super Nintendo and Genesis and loving like hours of gameplay by myself or with friends. The 2-player head-to-head with Super Nintendo, like I said, I'd play Street Fighter, I'd play Super Mario Kart, I'd play, man, just hours and hours and hours on those consoles, like just loved it.
Absolutely. It's fun. And, with the Atari 2600, then I played all the games you would think of, right? Like Space Invaders and Ms. Pac-Man and everything else. And then in college, we played the Sega Genesis a lot. And our big games were NHL hockey. We loved NHL hockey. And then Bill Walsh college football in the spirit of football.
I love this. Bill Walsh football. Love it. Harry Larry McNary. Shout out to him, buddy. The one card to rule them all. The one card to find them. One card to bring them all. And in the darkness bind them. Lord of the Rings living card game. One of my favorite card games. Plus Lord of the Rings. Just lore is so amazing. Huge fan. What sort of literature are you into, Jamie? You like reading?
Yeah, I'm actually, with my job, I essentially have formed, I'm kind of helping companies figure out how they should be activating in Web3, but also just innovation in general. So obviously AI has become a part of that. So right now I'm reading an amazing book called AI 2041. And for anyone who's interested in artificial intelligence, it's an amazing book because it's it's developed by two people, one who's a really technical engineer around AI,
Mm,
and then he partnered with a friend who's a science fiction writer.
mm,
And so they wrote this book 2 years ago. And what they did, every chapter, the science fiction writer writes what our future could be like 20 years from now, 2041, when the book was written, tells it like it in a very human story of how AI is kind of impacting things.
mhm.
And then the second half of the chapter is like the engineer coming in and explaining the underlying tech that was driving a lot of the narrative that you read. So it's really interesting.
Cool. I see a comment from Darren V. He says special promotion code for everyone in the chat on the Splinter Coach. I would say that there's 7-day free trials. Darren, check it out, my dude. See if you like it. And I think you're going to like it. And then when you do, you know what? Support the projects that we as a community think are helpful, right? Like this is one of them that I think is going to be something that you're going to find joy in and also usefulness. So check it out and give the 7-day a trial. It's a minimum. And then you're going to find that you like it, I bet. Charles goes, heard Grand Theft will soon have real life money earnings, maybe blockchain. That's interesting. I'd never heard that, but I could buy it. You could picture, you know, I even made a joke in a recent video talking about how the cool thing about Splinterlands is that you can actually leave this game with money in your bank, as opposed to, you know, Super Mario collecting gold coins that go nowhere. You know, why not, right? You know, you can imagine some sort of blockchain connection within the context of Grand Theft Auto where you actually can liquidate that value. You know, of course, that would be exciting for new players. You might unlock a whole new audience. I would think it just screams to me it's gonna happen. It's just like, is it gonna happen in the next few months? I don't think so. I think it's even the next bull market, people will start taking bites at it, I bet. Like new developers, big brands will be given it a shot, but then they'll come in too late and you'll watch like it'll drop radically, and that'll be a bit of a black eye. I bet this is 10 years from really being everywhere. But in the meantime, Splinterlands is going to be doing its thing, I think, and that's why I'm so hype about this game. Harry Larry McNary, Grand Theft Auto already has real life earnings? I didn't know that. Downtown Chicago, I got you. Trey, ad wagering betting, which is common in TCGs. I remember battling friends in Pokemon for a card I wanted. That could be interesting. You know, Trey, they talk, I don't know if Splinterlands will do that directly, because you get into conversations over how you could list the card or the game even on Google Play or Apple Store, because that's, you know, there's a gambling element to it. But one thing that is possible is draft mode, which is this idea that you all buy a certain amount of packs to compete into the tournament. Literally, your price of admission is, let's say, 5 Chaos Legion packs. And everybody who participates does that. And then there's this draft mode amongst those cards that just got opened. Those 5 packs times 100 players, 500 cards. You all draft from that list of cards. And now you compete with those cards. And those cards are yours to keep, the ones you select. So there's this intentionality in the draft process, but then there's this thoughtfulness also in building the best team to win that tournament. So that's going to be, that is coming to Splinterlands. I'm pretty certain of it. It's been high on Weirdbeard's sort of plan. So you will see something of what you're describing, but maybe not exactly how you're describing. Battle Beast talking about the Soulbound cards, and the summoners introducing gladiators into the game and how that's changing. Jamie, any thoughts on that? Maybe we talk about Soulbounds for a few minutes and just even how actually I haven't looked at what's your take. Show me some of your data, or tell me some of your data anyways, on how your Soulbound summoners are doing in the rank experience. Do you have any decently leveled ones?
I don't. I've only played one summoner 2 times. Because I'm a stickler about having things leveled up. Looks like I may be having, there we go. Huh. So, don't know what's going on there. But the only one I've played is Helios from the Dragon unit. And I'm 0-2 with her, unfortunately.
What level is your Helios?
6.
So, and you're playing a diamond. So that's like gold level. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. My Helios is gold level 6. And I'm occasionally playing it And my data shows me, look, Helios Matriarch is 4-3 for me. And she's winning with, see, look at this. I'm using her in the context of the green team where I have Katrelba Gobson, who is a double striking sneak attack monster who just goes bananas sometimes. And so she is carry. Like, she is absolute in certain contexts. And then look at, I've partnered it with Vruz. And so if you can get that martyr to proc in context of a double striking sneak attack monster that will bloodlust, it's like, wow, watch out. So there are contexts for, I think these bringing gladiators to rank play is a brand new angle with a ton of interesting excitement for me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's actually a product upgrade we'd like to do that's on our list. And if people want it, we can even prioritize it. I'd love to do the sort similar to on the website, right? So you could sort your Gladius cards and see your records with those, or your Untamed cards, or your dice cards, etc. And what's fine, by the way, I got the technical difficulties fixed, but what I've found from I use Captain Katie a lot. And then the other one I use a lot, obviously, is the opportunity monster from Water, and I really like those. But it was interesting because with Water, I think I intuitively thought I was winning a lot with Vorst, but my winning percentage with that card is actually not that great, which surprised me because you can pair it with Mastermind and Deep Lurker, and you can just start hammering opportunity in one spot, right? But it's proved to not be, well, yes, I'm 500 with it, 14 and 15. So that is above my win rate for Water. So maybe I need to give that a little bit more credit than I have been.
Might be cool to actually introduce the gladiator, or like subdivide, allow a clicking on the gladiator as a filter so that I could see specifically how they're doing. I know I can go into the appropriate splinter, but yeah, just maybe a filter.
Yeah, we would love to add that, because then you could, because another thing I've been curious is, fortuitous that these two cards are here, but which Soulbound reward cards am I winning the most with, right? Like, I don't know if you're on my screen or not, but clearly Coastal Sentry is not one for me. I'm kind of having a hard time with that one.
Coastal Sentry, yeah. Hey, no, I'm not currently on your screen, but Coastal Sentry, I like that card, but it's just not ready yet. Maybe you're Soulbound, you're not leveled up high enough, probably.
Yeah, I think I'm actually at a pretty high level with it.
Interesting. And it's still not working, eh?
I'm sorry?
It's, despite its relative high level, it's still not having that success for you.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. It's not maxed out. Like I guess I have it at level 6. So that's decent. But the rest of my thing, I have a fully maxed out Chaos Legion deck, and I'm well on my way to maxing out Rift Watchers, which essentially it's funny, you were talking earlier about just the diversification of investments you can put into this game. And what I've learned is at least for me, is I've had to really focus on what I enjoy the most. And for me, that was maxing out my Chaos Legion deck, working on maxing out my Rift Watchers deck. And then I did, when the staking news came out, I did just decided to pull the trigger, and I bought enough SPS to give me 100% earning ability at Diamond 2.
Cool.
For now. Land, I want to get into land. I just frankly haven't wrapped my head around it, if I'm being honest.
I saw a comment from Bobby, who is always the invitationalist. He goes, "We've got a spot in TNA 3, only 2, I think. Act now, Diamond Brawls for sure." He goes, and sincerely, like I created Time and Attention, and definitely the guys would welcome you, and I know that you'd enjoy it there. You'd unlock some of that power, and there's way more rewards at those higher levels. But that's right. Maybe for another time. I'll leave that there, and you can let me know.
Nice.
Warhammer 40k lore is awesome. Listening to Tales of the Emperor of Man. Do you ever get into Warhammer?
I don't. No.
It's like whole universe. Like, you can, like, people collect the miniatures, they paint them. I see that at all of my local comic book stores, but I never really touched it either. Ryan 600, what's the data set in Splinter Coach? Is it our own accounts, or is it all battles? I know, but
Yeah, Ryan, if you sign up for the 7-day free trial, you'll see your specific stats, not all battles. So you get insights into how you play.
Yeah. And of course it's valuable to know the broader how are people playing, Ryan. But man, I'm telling you right now, like knowing how you play, where you win, when you struggle, like you can unlock that data. There's knowledge there that you don't currently have. I'm telling you, it's holding you back. So this is a powerful tool. You go check it out. 7-day free trial. Are we able to?
Second question. Yeah, that's we were talking about that earlier. That was actually one of the first ideas Dwayne had when he saw the tool. I don't know if you remember sending me that message on Discord. But yeah, we'd like to start teeing up some component of macro data as well too, so you can compare your personal data to the macro.
Big Dog Web, good to see you, buddy.
It doesn't exist right now. Sorry, I don't want to mislead anyone. That would be a future feature.
Understood. Yeah. I mean, it's just getting like brand new, guys. Splinter Coach, but truthfully, already there's a lot of value in there. And secondly, I think you're gonna enjoy it. I really think you're gonna enjoy it. Like, forget about the utility, which there is. It's entertaining. Big Dog, good to see you, buddy. I want 1 million SPS too, Charles. I'm up to 180,000 now, and I'm getting about 1,000 more a day. So, you know, but still, I need another big buy. But here's the problem, man. That burn, I think we kind of circled the topic a little. We didn't, man, that burn is going to be big, and I need to be focused on that right now, because there's just too much going on there. There's too much. I mean, the guild upgrades that are free, essentially, because I want these opportunities to win these rewards. These rewards right here, man. 200 plus a land, 100 alpha packs, 250 beta packs, 500 untamed packs, 1,000 nightmare packs, 1,000 Riftwatcher packs, 25 Rooney. Rooney are like floor price $700 US. And you're telling me for $3 I might win a Rooney? So I mean, for that alone, I gotta be focused here, and tie to it, or like add to that benefit, the guild power thing, man. And you just say to yourself, like, how could I I gotta focus here right now. Like, as much as I want more SPS, but I just, and then the scary thing is, and it's almost scary, truthfully, like the DC that I want to sink here, I might give it all 900,000, but then I need to launch my land in like a couple weeks, and I'm gonna need a good, probably 500,000 DC for that too. And I saw Aftersound cover this quickly in a recent video just yesterday or today. He was talking about burning. He was talking about where that might go, and he was speculating about how much DC might disappear. And I forget his exact numbers. You should go check out his channel and watch the video. But he was saying that he thinks the burn is going to be really significant. And then he was saying that it won't be the last element of how we're going to burn. Like he was speculating that we might have a new proposal for Riftwatcher packs to be listed in DC price point, which I think he's right about, because I do think Aggie and Matter of one mind that's got to happen, and they're going to re-propose it, I bet, and it's going to pass, I think, this time. That was the last time. I actually have a video coming out on this, so I'm not going to say too much more, but man, I think it's going to happen, and there are some consequences to what that might mean, both good and maybe bad, that are worth talking about. But I want you to check out the video. That's out tonight at midnight, so 12 hours from now. But you said just a few thousand DEC for this, hey?
As of now, just a few thousand. I clearly need to make my final decision by May 30th, because that's where you'll get the most bang for the buck. I don't know. Listening to you talk, though, the guild bonuses, gosh, that makes it very compelling, because you're getting some guaranteed. You're getting a guaranteed payoff for what you do. And
I don't know if you know this, but it's not just a guild bonus, and it's not just, you're right, it is a guaranteed payoff, because you're getting the guild bonus. That means better buildings, that means better rewards for you as an individual. But additionally, you actually are going to now be, that's going to be your guild power, not just your guilds. And so that's cool too, because it's now the fingerprint of Guy from Ajax that's going to be stronger and stronger and more desirable. And then you start getting guilds saying, hey man, like, why don't you bring that account over here? We've got building X, Y, and Z at X, Y, and Z levels, and hey, it's powerful. And you know, it's almost they start wooing you because you've got this better. It starts with often it's soulbound reward gladiator cards that start that conversation. Wow, you got that card. I'd really love to have you on my team. But now it's this new angle of you have a crazy amount of guild power. We'd love to have you on the team. And so it's this full picture of like making yourself that much more attractive, which is going to unlock even more rewards because you're getting more at higher levels. You get way more SPS, way more merits, and that makes you again more distinguished, right? You get that more and more SPS, more and more merits means more and more gladiator cards, and then that's actually not even just guild benefit because the gladiator cards translate into the rank reward improvement because of now the summoners that are letting you bring those into the gameplay. And so I think this is actually really important. I think it's really important. Plus, you have a lottery ticket opportunity at some of these crazy benefits. So people got to be careful. It's, it is, if you come at this from the wrong angle, it is gambling. But if you have a bit of money that you're willing to put into Splinterlands that you want to see your guild buildings go up anyways, think about it from that perspective. Don't go crazy with this. But man, I sold my last validator node license yesterday, put it all into DC, and I'm considering putting it all into this burn. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. What's interesting too, even just stepping back, just hearing you break it down like that it just makes you even more bullish on Splinterlands because look at how intricate this economy is that they can layer on that all those different types of benefits into a promotion. And frankly, that to me is just even starting everything you just talked about is just starting to scrape the surface of all the goodness of this game's ecosystem.
Well, this is interesting. I definitely agree with what you just said. But this is interesting. Icy's out there, and Icy goes, I don't think many Web 2 games will give up their monopoly and go to Web 3. And I have some thoughts, but I want to let you go with that one. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of these legacy gaming companies are very entrenched into their business models. And yeah, they have closed ecosystems, they have very passionate fan bases. And yeah, they're going to need, I think, a bit of sort of like a gamer-led or a consumer-led pull to pull them into this space. And what I think is going to happen is like you and I have been saying, the Web3 gaming industry it's gaining traction. It's going to continue to gain more traction. At some point, it's going to hit escape velocity. And I think what a lot of these established Web2 gaming companies will probably do is they might, a lot of these companies like the Activisions and the Sonys and et cetera, they have portfolios of games. So I can even see them starting small, kind of like a contained experiment into Web3, maybe even with an IP that's not as large as a Call of Duty or a Halo or anything like that, and just kind of testing. And once they start gaining traction, building community, then I can start to see Web3, working its way into these other, into these more established IPs in gaming.
Yeah, I see your point, and I think that's accurate, but I also think there's room for them. You talked about how like the gamer led, the player led, like dragging them kicking and screaming into the process. I think that's probably pretty accurate, like for a metaphor, because I do think you're right. They've got like, why would they want to, like, they think the rewards, like I sell this to you and you buy it and then I'm happy and that pays the bills and it's always paid the bills, and none of those like top CEOs that are running that show and know that rhythm are saying to themselves, how can we totally shake things up? They've got a recipe that they like, but here's the thing. It's going to take some young visionary who recognizes what this can bring, because not only is it good for the player, because, hey, I'm putting some resources, some tokens, some NFTs into your hands that you might actually have value in and be able to sell and maybe profit from. That's, you think on the surface, you think, oh, that's for the user. But then if you really understand what that means, the dynamic that unlocks is more attractiveness to your game, because you now have an audience that's not only just here for fun, but actually for that opportunity side too. And that then spreads a different conversation. Hey, look what and this happened in Splinterlands, like when this channel kind of started blowing up, where it was like, it was like DC, where you're getting paid, I think I was getting 30-50 bucks a day from playing Splinterlands because of what was happening with DC, because they were issuing DC per battle, because the rewards are substantial, etc. And that sparks conversations that grab people's attention. And so I'm saying, if Call of Duty does something like this at some point, when they do, because I think they will, it'll attract eyes. And that's a potentially fresh new audience that would maybe have not, but now will. And so that it is probably a kicking and screaming situation. But I think some young guy who's willing to take the risk and who finds it at the right moment, because you could come in at the wrong moment and then it implodes and you know, that's going to set the whole movement back, I would say. But if the right visionary comes along and does it with the right time, moving into a bull market, and they're able to, like, Twitter is blowing up with how much money people are making playing Call of Duty, the units of COD that are going to move are going to blow records out of the water. So there really is this, you know, good for them, good for us situation. They just don't see it. And probably, you're right, maybe won't see it for maybe a long time. It's hard to say.
No, it's interesting. You are spot on. And I'm not going to say who or which brand, but obviously in my job, I talk to a lot of traditional marketers at Fortune 500 companies, not necessarily at gaming, but in other industries. And, you know, another thing we're really bullish on are on-chain loyalty programs, because there are so many benefits. And it's funny, I was talking to this executive, and his comment was, why would I want my loyalty points and my loyalty assets to be on chain? Because the whole point of a loyalty program is to keep people in your ecosystem, not give them the ability to leave. And my point was, I think when brands truly start embracing Web3, I think it shows a level of confidence that they're giving their members these, whether it's on-chain loyalty points or on-chain gaming assets. But how confident does a company have to be when they say our game or our loyalty program is so compelling that we're going to give you an exit door if you want it, but we don't think you're going to take it because we have so much to offer.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that is, if someone does want to exit, okay, they're exiting. They don't want to be in your program anyway. But guess what? They're selling to someone who wants to be in your program.
Yeah.
Whether that's someone new coming in, or maybe it's someone who's trying to become a whale within your ecosystem, whether it's loyalty or gaming, it's going to make them even more engaged. So I think you start cultivating super passionate members versus these almost like zombie non-participants in your ecosystem.
100%. And there's you can imagine all kinds of little perks that could be wrapped up in the collection of more and more of the points. So they don't have to be monetary exactly. They're, you know, if people like the brand, even just like, you know, I don't know, man, imagine it's as limitless as your imagination, like what that reward could look like. And maybe it's, you know, I picture McDonald's related stickers that your kids can have. You know, they buy X amount of Happy Meals, they get Happy Meal points, they have X amount of Happy Meal points on their account, and they get mailed stickers of Ronald McDonald and of all the characters. I mean, relatively inexpensive, like physical stickers, that kind of thing. You could tie it to relatively inexpensive, tangible benefits that end up being this like interesting invitation into deeper and deeper waters within the context of, like, you know, you're not necessarily selling all your points. You're not necessarily at in my country, in Canada, we have Shoppers Drug Mart. It's like a pharmacy / grocery store, and they have a point system, and you know, I will often gamify it where I'm like doing my best every day or week to get the most points I can, because at the end of the year, we'll put together $500-600 worth of free purchases, and I'll you know, use it for Christmas. We'll buy a couple $100 worth of gifts for kids that we just, you know, give away, because this is just incidental benefits to me. And so there's these interesting things, but man, if you incentivize me from never moving it away, maybe there's a slight inflation because I hold it. There's just so many ways to, like you said, and there's a boldness in, like, yeah, you can leave. Like that's the cool thing about Splinterlands too, actually. Let's wrap it back there, because people can leave Splinterlands anytime they want. And recently there's been some people who have, my buddy Jim Morgan has, in some sense left, and he sold his cards. And I saw a comment today, which I did a video on, which I'll send out in a couple days here, guys. It was like, CryptoZard and Bex actually dropped a comment on my channel, which they are YouTubers, go check them out. And they had feedback for me about recently me saying to people, the thing about Splinterlands is if you're frustrated, if you don't believe in the future or the fun or direction of where we're headed, you can actually sell your assets. And that's a beautiful thing. That's actually part of the revolutionary nature. It's like you just said, Jamie, when you're talking with that company, there's a confidence that's being depicted in that. I'm trying to depict a degree of confidence in that, where I'm saying, I don't want you to leave, but look, isn't it really amazing that you could? I think we are doing a disservice if we don't put that right front and center, because that's actually part of why this game and this space is so revolutionary. So let's not shy away from, because we're worried they'll leave. Let's actually celebrate that. And because it's really awesome that when you're done, you can leave. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm 100% aligned. And yeah, and something you said earlier too, is something else that I think that the mainstream is beginning to wrap their head around. And that's the fact you were talking about, how brands or companies or games can essentially offer almost whatever type of utility they can imagine for asset holders in their ecosystem. And that's, I think, one of the, I think there are a number sort of like light bulbs that need to go off in order for this industry to truly hit escape velocity. And one, like, you would be amazed how many non-Web3 people I talk to in corporate America that still think of NFTs as nothing more than like monkey JPEGs and, unstable stable coins.
Yeah.
And they start to realize that no, they can actually, an NFT is really just a piece of technology that proves digital ownership of something, whether that's a Bored Ape picture, or maybe it's just an asset that says, hey, you get, you get free tickets to concerts for a year. So like companies, once they really embrace the technology, are going to be limited by the talent and the imagination of their business groups and their marketing departments and how they leverage this.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited for like the next like revolutionary mind to grab hold of this and bring it in across the finish line. Cause it's like, I think when I think about like revolutionary minds, I think about like, Musk and what he's doing with like Boring Company and with Tesla and with SpaceX and even that, I forget what it's called, the like Mind Project, like where they're like doing brain manipulation to like, sorry, my dog's defending the home. But he's just doing so much. And I think exciting new people are going to come to this space and they're going to run with this technology in ways that we can't even imagine. I think it's already happening. I think Splinterlands is part of this. I actually think it is. I think people don't truly respect what Splinterlands is because it hasn't got to its end point yet. And so it feels like, it's cute. It's got, 10, 50,000, people playing this thing. Oh, that's cute. It just feels it doesn't feel like, what's the word? It doesn't feel like, I don't know, real maybe, but over years and with more and more of those stories where people do find they took real value and they put it in their bank, and that starts becoming more and more common of an experience. And more people walk through bull cycles and see that they saw appreciation, and the player base grows because it is a quality game, and the quality gaming experience is growing, like we talked about with different tournament experiences or guild brawl battle experience or whatever the case may be. It's like we're so early in what this even is, and the revolutionary people and minds are starting now to kind of run with that ball. But man, I'm so excited to watch this over the next 5 to 10 years and see where that goes.
I agree. And Splinterlands, I mean, again, it already is essentially an OG in the space, right? In the Web3 gaming space. But I think when we do hit that next bull run, and again, I keep using the term escape velocity. I keep waiting for Web3 gaming and just Web3 in general from a utility technical standpoint to hit escape velocity.
Yeah.
I think Splinterlands is going to be looked at. It's good. I wouldn't call it slow and steady because it's not slow and steady, but it's very consistent. It's consistently good. They may not meet all of their deliverable timelines, but they deliver and they bring us new things and new utility. They have a very integrated ecosystem. And then you look at the core team, the Agros, the Mats, like Weird Beard, Chatter. They're gaining so much specific knowledge. But through the 5 years they've had this game live on what it takes to run, maintain, and build a successful Web3 ecosystem. That's why. I mean, again, I'm not in this for financial reasons. I love the game, but it gives me a little warm fuzzy to know I've got a bit of a financial stake, and that's the team that's leading the way.
Yeah, that's it. That's a great way to wrap that sort of comment. It's like you're not in it for the financial. You are here because you find it fun, and that's why I say on the channel so often that you should understand. You should ask the question regularly whether you think this game is fun, and if it has a future, because there are two sides to it, and it's okay if you don't really care about the financial side. You're just here for the entertainment. But it is wise to kind of look at both sides, but then the whole like loose hands on these things. You don't need it to be the most crazy money-making opportunity for it to be fun. If it's fun, that's one amazing thing. Just enjoy it for that. And I have friends like Gathering the Magic, raising a great YouTube channel. Go check him out, guys. He'll talk about how he enjoys the bronze experience. He bought a $10 account. He puts no extra money into it except for what he earns by playing. And he'll stretch that in creative ways, like using Splinter Forge to access a few Forgium with a bronze level deck that then sell into DEC, which then afford a few rentals or a few card acquisitions. He's loving that experience, like truly enjoyable with it. And so it doesn't have to be this like, oh man, what's my ROI, or how's my, when am I going to be 100%, like when I'm going to make back my investment? It's like, it's a game, and it's a great game, and I hope you'll enjoy that side of it. But I do think it's cool. It's really special that there's that financial side. This is, a part, great games are great games, but then wrap in the tokenomic side, and I'm like, whoa, you got me. I'm super, super excited. Okay, let's see what else. We've got about 10-15 minutes left, guys. Let's see. We didn't touch on... We talked about the future. We speculated about Splinterlands and even NFT blockchain broadly.
Can I say something really funny real quick?
Yeah.
Remember earlier how I was hypothesizing about aim true and poison monsters working very well with that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can switch over to my screen.
Okay, I can. Yeah, hang on.
Let me know when you're there.
Okay, I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna step away for a minute. So I'm gonna go. Let's go. I just need to use the restroom, guys. I'll be right back. And I'll tell you when I'm ready, Jamie, and then you'll have full screen and they can see what you're doing.
Okay.
Video. Okay. Display capture. Boom. Discord. Okay. And now let me just make sure it's where I want it to be. I got to turn off. No, that's good. That's fine. Okay. So hang on. Back over here. Okay, you've got free reign. They can see your Splinter Coach, and I'm going to just step away for 1 minute, guys.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is funny. So I was talking earlier. I've recently been playing with the strategy of aim true and loading up on poison monsters because intuitively, I think that's going to work, right? Like every time you're guaranteeing a hit, you're increasing the chances you're going to drop poison. And I've really been doing that leading into death because you have Venari Bonesmith. And you have Soul Strangler, and then you can pull in Uraeus and Blight from the neutrals. But check this out. This is funny. So I go to Venari Bonesmith. I'll go to Rule Set, Aim True, 3 and 15. So I don't know if my hypothesis is really working. And we'll go over to Soul Strangler. And here we go. Right here. Soul Strangler. Rule Set, Aim True, 2 and 10, not much better. So anyone who heard that, maybe you don't want to combine Aim True and Poison. It gets a little less ugly with the neutral monsters. Uraeus overall, it's a 455 card for me, with me playing it. In the Aim True, it's a 432, so not quite as bad as Bonesmith and Soul Strangler, but still below how I normally perform with it. Blight is a little bit of an exception. So I recently got a Dr. Blight, so I don't have the game counts quite as high as on the others, but I actually have a winning record with Blight and Aim True. So I don't know, maybe I'll keep playing with this strategy a little bit, but it my hypothesis kind of got disproven from looking at those stats. Maybe just a couple other things until Dwayne gets back to. I know we were talking about Splinter Coach earlier, but if folks do want to see some more like functionality around it, just so everyone knows, when you click on a card, by the way, you can sort by most played, you can sort by most wins, and you can sort by win percentage as well too. And then when you actually click on the card, we'll go to Lava Launcher. You can see the 5 most paired cards down here that you play with that card. And then you can do various sorts, right? Mana cap, rule set. And then for monsters, you can also see your records by position. And then under each summoners, like for example, Lava Launcher, when I play it in the tank, I'm 12 and 13, right? And I think I played a lot in the reach position. Yeah, 34 and 44 doesn't seem to perform that well. But then look at this 564 winning rate. So maybe I need to be protecting the Lava Launcher a little bit more. I guess, 6 and 10 at the 4 spot and 5. Yeah. And then another measure that I have here too is anchor. So this is each card's position when it's at the very end of the lineup. So if you have a 4-card lineup, whatever card is in the 4 spot is going to have its record tracked toward the anchor. So you can see Lava Launcher, I'm 2 and 2 playing it with the anchor. I thought that was interesting because I tend to play, well, before I maxed them out, I tended to play my fiends a lot in the anchor position because I kind of treated them as meat shields, kind of protect against sneaks. But now I'm being a little more strategic because they actually bring functionality to the table. But real quick, kind of looking, just Scorch Fiend as an example in the anchor, yeah, it's not doing that well. So maybe not the best strategy.
Interesting. I by the way, when you covered this on your channel and you talked about the anchor position, I was like, that's great. I love that because it's unveiling like one more degree of depth where it's not just in the end, it's not just at the 6th spot. Because what if you might get confused? Okay, sometimes the 5th spot is your anchor and sometimes the 6th, and so if you want to understand like how that card fits at the tail end, anchor is the right thing. I'm really glad you did that feature.
Yeah, that was just literally a personal thing, right? I was just always kind of curious. And I've had a theory that fiends work really well in the anchor position. That's being disproven by the data. And then the other theory I've had, I don't know if you think this way, Dwayne, but I always try to put high speed monsters in the anchor as well too, just because they're more likely to, like Pelacor Bandit or Naga Assassin.
Yes.
But then if I look at Naga, let's look, 40 and 44, which 476 win percentage, whereas overall I have a 521 with the Naga. So maybe that's not the play, So I think I need to kind of experiment a little bit more and figure out what's the right way to treat that anchor position.
How's Naga doing in the 2nd or 3rd spot?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How is your Naga Assassin bearing when it sits in the 2nd or the 3rd position?
Look, 6 and 4, 600 winning percentage at the reach. And then in the 3rd, it's 500.
Okay.
And then anchor or tank sometimes. Because sometimes it wands out. I'll put it because of its high speed.
Yeah.
I'll put it in tank because it might miss some hits. Yeah.
Plus the spell, or not the spell, the backfire, right? So you can, I like that one in the tank position. You know what I do is I'll put the Naga Assassin in it when it spells or wands out, or no, what's the feature where you have to play archery units?
Going the distance.
When it's going the distance, I'll put the Naga Assassin in the 2nd spot, and I might put one of the, what are they called? The Martyr ability monsters in the 1st spot. So then by the time your Naga gets to the 1st position, she's got 8 speed because of her own swiftness plus the Martyr, and that's like so much more likely to be evasive. Or I'll do Fire Spitter. I don't know if you have that card, but the Fire Spitter is a dragon archery monster, 4 mana, and it is flying, dodge, and a good amount of hit points. So it's like a great going the distance tank because it's flying and dodge give you a 50% chance of evasiveness. Plus, it's got good speed, and if you give a martyr, you like even that much more chance to avoid. It's an interesting tank choice for that specific rule set.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't have that card, but I'm not sure if you're still on my screen. The Naga Assassin and going the distance for me is 17 and 7, 708. It's interesting. It just brings so many benefits to the table for that rule set.
Totally, I am still on your screen, and yeah, for 2 mana, like this card. When this card came out, I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this card is an absolute must-have. This card's amazing. 2 mana, like a good amount of damage for 2. Anytime you can get the same amount of damage output as your mana cost is, I love that. And then it's got a reasonable amount of hit points. 5 hit points for 2 mana, 6 speed, 7 because of the swiftness, and the backfire. So I love this card. But it's funny how, we talked earlier about some of the card values. This is a card where it was like 50, 60 cents when I think most of my units, most of my BCX on that card were bought and sold for, I maximized my card for, hang on a second. There you go. I maximized that card in my roster for 40 cents a BCX. And it's probably, no, I know it's way, 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 way lower than that now. Like just quickly, what's the cost in this guy? There he is, Naga Assassin. We're talking 3 cents per BC, 3 to 4 cents per BCX on the Naga Assassin. You need 115 copies. So for is that $4? $4 you can have that card? That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You're the user who posted earlier about getting a maxed out Immortalis for $156. I'm uber jealous because when I decided to max mine out, I owned 2 or 3 copies from the airdrop, and I bought the rest, and it was still over $20 per BCX when I did that. So kudos to that user. They definitely netted out well.
Definitely, yeah. It's such a strong card too. I only recently discovered how strong. Like I think initially when that card launched, I remember talking to Gank, and I think I was on Walking Keys and Gank's NFT Gaming and Collectibles channel, and the Immortalis comes from the Immortal Gods, which is Gank's guild, and I remember talking to him about like, what do you think about this summoner? I mean, he loves it, he loved it, but I think he would love it even if it wasn't optimal. Because it's his guild. And so I was asking him like, well, where's this gonna fit in the meta? And he seemed to think it was gonna be awesome. I really didn't think it was gonna be good, and yet it's proven to be really quite exceptional in my opinion. Along with a lot of the Chaos Legion summoners, Grandmaster Wraith is crushing it. Astral Entity, I think, feels a bit niche. Let's be honest. Although I've had great success, Astral Entity is not the card you're going to every game, but Wraith maybe is, or off is far more common, and same with Immortalis. And what else? And Lily Shieldpaw again feels like you can consistently go there. What are your thoughts on Chaos Legion? Maybe let's just spend a couple more minutes on Chaos Legion summoners. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you feel like I'm sleeping on one of the other ones, or is that pretty much what you feel too?
Pretty in line. The one legendary summoner you didn't mention was Possibilis, and I've actually found a couple of use cases for Possibilis as well too.
Is that right?
We'll see if they're still holding, but yeah, I don't feel back to base. Just to give everyone so my overall record with Possibilis is 52 and 53, so essentially a 500 card for me.
Mm-hmm.
But in the back to basics rule set, I'm 17 and 6, a 739 winning percentage. And so it's, you could essentially bring 2 strong melee monsters to the table who start attacking right away with that card. And that's clearly working.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like Possibilis too. I think my record is 12 and 11. If I just pulled it up on my screen here. Strong performance. Again, not superb, but also not a huge sample size. Some of the other ones, like I said, Thaddeus proving really go to, Quixodevious, and also Lily, really surprising me how often I can play those and how often they win. Um, we probably should wrap, but I'd love to hear like last thoughts. Like tell them about the channel one more. Let's Splinter Coach guys is gonna be sponsoring the channel for the next little bit here, and I'm really am enjoying it. And I don't say that because of the partnership exclusively. I say it because truly I am enjoying it. And you can try it for 7 days, so please go check it out. SplinterCoach.com. Jamie, anything else like specifically you want to say about Splinter Coach or about Geeked Out Basketball or whatever the case may be?
First of all, just to thank you for having me. I watch all your content and I really enjoy your community. They're clearly a group of great people. So it's fun to be able to chat and kind of interact with them. And then no, I'd say, yeah, if anyone wants to, probably the best way to interact with me, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's Geeked Out Basketball. And then in the link to all the videos I do now, or it links to all the videos I do now, I put a link to Discord. I have a Geeked Out Basketball Discord, and which is a game I'm developing. I haven't launched it yet, though. I'm still developing it. But in that Discord, I put a Splinter Coach channel, and that's where you can interact with me directly, whether there are questions about the service or anything like that, or just to kind of give me ideas. That's the best way to reach me.
And Blaze dropped the last comment here. He goes, signing up for the VIP right now. He goes, love it, Blaze. You're going to enjoy it, buddy. And yeah, Jimmy, really sincerely appreciate you coming to spend a couple hours here and chat all things Splinterlands and to kind of walk us through the product a little bit. I really am loving it. Thank you for even reaching out in the first place. And yeah, maybe we'll leave it there, but love to have you come back on sometime, or maybe pop over to your channel and we can talk about things too. And guys, check out Geeked Out Basketball, the YouTube channel, and you're going to see even more Splinterlands related content over there. So do yourself a favor and go like and subscribe over there too. And before we go, please drop the thumbs up, because other people are going to see it because you do. Appreciate all of you guys out there. I didn't say hi to Jetto. I saw you pop by, bud. Icy, I read your comment, but thanks for hanging out. Bobby, really appreciate you too, cousin. And now done. Thanks for the sign up on that bronze, bud. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day. God bless you. Bye for now.